So, I just saw this awesome commercial about men's razor, and they made a commercial. Basically, it's about white knights protecting my vajayjay. So, how can I resist? Let's get to it.
Bullying.
The Me Too movement against sexual
Toxic
harassment.
masculinity.
Is this the best a man can get?
No, this is clearly the worst men can get, and I'm actually pretty amazed that you're selling the worst that men can get on a razor commercial. But whatever.
Is it?
Oh, boys running. Bad. Let's tell boys that they may never run again because that's a display of toxic masculinity.
It's likely happening here in Bullying, as well.
A problem
We can't hide from it.
Sexual harassment is taking over.
It's been going on far too long. We can't laugh it off.
Who's the daddy?
Yeah, because husbands just have all the time in the world to grab their wives' asses. You know, like it's not like they come home and completely exhausted, about to fall on the couch, and the only thing that's keeping them awake is to look forward to the good meal that his wife is going to cook. But no, he's gonna be like, yeah, he's just all jonesed up, you know, like all those hours stuck in the office, you know, and where his boss kind of like having a metaphorical whip, but he has plenty of time. He's thinking about is grabbing that ass, you know. That's how men think, you know. They can do everything else just really, really quickly, right? But they have all the cognitive resources left to grab the ass.
What I actually think she's trying to say.
This never happened to me, by the way, ever in my life. This is actually something that I kind of want to talk about. That I haven't seen a lot of people, you know, talking about this stereotype about a man being condescending to a woman. Now, first of all, this looks like a very important board meeting. This guy who's being condescending looks like he's some sort of CEO or something, and it's kind of weird that, you know, if he's supposed to be misogynist, and yet he hired a woman to be at this level of the company. Okay, I mean, if you ask me, that's a little bit too much mud on your shoes, because you spend all that effort to hire this woman to on your board meeting just so you could be condescending to her, because for some reason you can't do that in other places. You have to risk a lot to hire somebody to sit in the board meeting, and just so you can display your condescension to her. Maybe, I don't know, maybe she's not actually a board member. Maybe she's there to just take notes, in which case she would be completely out of line to say anything, basically, because she's not supposed to talk. You're only supposed to be there to take notes. It would be the exact same thing if it were a guy. And if she wants to, you know, if she's voicing her opinion, that's out of line because she hasn't earned the position to be voicing your opinion if you're just there as a secretary to take notes. So yeah, I mean, and the funny thing is, if that was the scenario, the CEO who's saying, I think what she's really trying to say is really trying to be protective of her. Because if this was a guy, okay, he would just be fired. You know, he would be like the CEO's face would be like completely like angry, and he will be fired the next day. But because it's a woman, so he's trying to protect her. He says, don't mind her stupid remark. Don't mind the fact that she was completely out of the line. She was really trying to say, you know, something nice. Just don't care about it so much, okay? And this is actually the real world scenario, and it's, you know, it has its flaws, but it's about status. It's not about gender. It's not about, you know, what's between your legs. It's about status. When I was in grad school, for example, the professors, whether they are men or women, they have a lot of time to speak. They have a lot of right to speak, and they're respected. If you're postdoc, you still have about the, you know, same level of respect. But if you're a student, then generally speaking, you kind of get passed over unless you're like a really, really like a famous student, like you're one of those top students that people know about. Then you get to have that status to be able to speak. Otherwise, people just ignore you. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl. People just ignore you because you haven't earned a place to speak. But once you climb that ladder, once you get to a certain point, then people, it's full on respect because people need your skill. But either case, though, I've never had this happen to me, basically. As long as I remember, I've never had once somebody would say, I think what she's really trying to say. And if there is such thing that happened, I think in those times I'll be grateful because it usually means I said something completely stupid. So that's usually the only way that you could experience something like that.
Making the same old excuses.
Boys will be boys.
Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
But something finally changed.
Okay, I'm gonna pretend for a second that you're not being completely retarded to not know that this is just boys being rough play and you're actually trying to display a real scenario of bullying behavior. Okay, I'm just pretend that's the case to give some benefit of the doubt because I think other people have all pointed out that this is just normal boy behavior doing rough play with each other. But okay, whatever. You're trying to say that this is one boy trying to be violent towards another boy. Even if that's the case, most father they would basically do as later on you will show, which is tell them that this is not okay. But the thing is that a father would be able to identify it better than an average woman, basically a mother. He will be able to tell if the boy is really hurting each other or if it's bullying behavior. Now, I do want to say though, I disagree with some people who suggest that boys being violent towards each other. I mean, even if they hurt each other, as long as it's like not severe, even if they hurt each other, it's just it's just boys being boys or something like that. Because the argument is not very solid, and I'll tell you why. It's because I mean, for example, Dr. Randall McCam said that you see cats and dogs, they fight each other like almost to a bloody pulp when you let them do it, but you don't let your own child do it. Well, the thing is, like, human beings have evolved. I mean, we're not primitive animals anymore, and we've realized that violence is not okay, generally speaking, and we develop into like more and more peaceful people, and generally speaking, talking it out is the better way to go, right? Than to fight it out. Because if you want to make that argument, well, what it used to be is if there are two men, they have a disagreement, and they get really angry, what they do is they just go out and have like honor duels, basically, and where one guy kills another guy. That used to be considered to be like completely normal, and it's also what animals do in the wild also. So I mean, this argument does not really fly, but the point is the father will be able to tell. I mean, and if he sees that it's really bullying behavior, it's really violence, he will go and stop them. And if he doesn't stop them, and you're like a woman, a mother, you're seeing that, and you see that he doesn't stop, then most likely it's because he knows that the boys are not actually hurting each other. Now, of course, I do want to add that there are some people have pointed out that boys need to have like this kind of rough, like almost kind of violent behavior in order for social bonds, something like that, which honestly just kind of goes to prove like what I've always said, which is that I do think men are more violent than women. It's just a different definition of what you mean by violence. The most objective definition you can come up with is physically actively using physical force with the intention to do harm to a person or an object, and you can see that it really depends on the object, right? I mean, a psychopath, a serial killer, that's okay. That's not considered violence. That's protected behavior. If you are punching a punching bag really violently, that's not violent behavior. But if you're destroying somebody's TV, somebody else's TV, destroying property, that would be considered violent behavior. If you're hitting a woman or a child, that's considered violent behavior. And even though men are more violent, they're also more rule oriented. So they're able to identify, most of them are able to identify which object is okay, which object is not. And it's the same way with boys. I mean, if you really don't want them to do rough play because you are worried that they might develop into something, there's a perfectly fine solution for that, which is, you you take your boy to sports or to martial arts or to Boy Scouts. Like you take your boy to situations where it's perfectly okay for them to display that kind of behavior and to get their mind focused on something. Now we can even use video games and very violent video games where they kind of use the masculinity in a healthy way. So there are plenty of alternatives, but I wouldn't make such a huge deal out of it. I think it's kind of condescending. They're trying to suggest that fathers don't know what's up. They do. Good parents know how to deal with this kind of thing, and they know how to, use whatever is ingrained in a child towards a more healthy way. And fathers are a huge contributor to that.
And there will be no going back. Because we believe in the best in men.
Men need to hold other men accountable.
They do. What about holding other women accountable?
Smile, sweetie.
Come on.
To say the right thing. To act the right way.
Bro, not cool. Not
This guy was preventing another dude from chasing after a woman because this is where we come down to now. Don't ever chase after a woman that you like. That's a man chasing after a woman. That used to be a romantic ideal, but now it's I don't know. I mean, are you trying to say that now it should be women chasing after men? I mean, let's see how well that flies over most women's head. Yeah, women just men are not going to chase after you anymore. You go chase after them, because be a good feminist and do that. And we'll see how well that goes.
Because the boys watching today will be the men of tomorrow.
Oh, look how cute these kids are, especially the Asian. We have some really cute babies. So all of these things that they're displaying, like the best men can be, is already happening in society. They just want you to do more based on how a woman feels, really. And it's really destroying society. I like to say this, which is something that I've been saying for a while, but I think I get a lot of backlash for saying this. But the problem with society, a huge part of it are men like this. The soy alpha men, I like to call them. They're alpha males because they are the ones who, created a successful business, right? I mean, they've climbed the ladder, they became CEOs in such a company, they make tons of money. So they are, in all sense of the word, they're alpha males, but they're alpha soy boys, basically. So they're alpha males, and at the same time, they do shit like this. Yeah, and when this happens, women will inevitably follow. That's just kind of the nature of women. When men lead a certain way, women will follow. So really, a big part of this, I think people are not seeing the big picture, which is that the third, fourth, whatever way feminism really got really big is when companies are doing this, basically. The companies, the government, they're doing this. They're not only enabling, they're not only being complacent, they're actively involved in doing this. And that's how we got where we are today. So it's really the fault of both men and women, and it's not any men and women. They are the people like this. They're the women who trying to gain power over this, and men actively giving power. That's the situation. So if you wanted to make change, a way to do it is to boycott all these companies and stop buying their shit. And if they go bankrupt, then they can stop leading in such a way, basically. So just my 2 cents. Anyways, see you later.